the dais.
No.
Mike was Lisa who spoke
Yeah,
already.
just let it go.
So my question is,
They
for the
want us.
Apollo,
They want us to.
you're telling me it was defined as packaging. That's pretty vague.
They failed this.
What do you mean by
Oh,
packaging?
I'm working on your shit.
Certain
Don't
size
worry.
packages will be
Don't worry.
regulated, depending what the material is.
Somebody's keeping information from me.
Correct?
I'm thinking I'm following your question. So you're saying that we have packaging in the Apollo warehouse?
No, you say
Said you
that.
had to move packages from it. What size were they? Because that determines sometimes on chemicals if it's regulated or non-regulated. If it's regulated, it now has to have a special bill with the proper requirements in the certain sequence, and it also has to be placarded. Even if it's class 9. Because once it's bulk, it trumps everything.
Yeah, great question. So the DOT regulates.
I teach Haz-Mat, so
Yeah, great.
I know it all.
Great.
Yeah, so the DOT regulates what's placarded, and that's kind of like the signs that you put on the backside of a truck. You know that because you teach HazMat, and folks in the audience may not. And so when we moved the chemicals out of the Apollo warehouse, they did not meet the requirements that required placarding. And so there was no placarding because it was not required.
The potassium permanganate needed placards that you hauled out of the Apollo. Officer Zebron was there. He went in the building. He's seen it. I have pictures of it. Totes.
Barrels.
Once again, if you've got comments, please use the microphone so that everybody can hear in the room here.
My next question.
Yes, sir.
Who's responsible for your safety training of your drivers? Because obviously those are all considered accidents. So they should have been retrained. OSHA laws, look up OSHA laws on accidents. Even if it's a near miss, they need to be retrained.
I'm sorry, what's your question now?
On your drivers that were going from the Apollo, that were hitting rocks and fences, and those are all considered accidents. They have to be retrained. What type of retraining do you have for those drivers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the details in my head, but we train our drivers all the time. I mean,
Well, they need to be retrained by OSHA standards.
okay.
Just let that go.
Yeah, I'll write that down as a question, and we can follow up. Yeah, I just don't have that. I don't have the knowledge of everything, right? So.
And then
Can we-
on this little pamphlet here,
We need the DOT to
says
come here.
Carus is committed to mitigating the risk that could repeat of this event. Okay, that's fine. It's established safe handling and storage practices, as well as local, state, and federal regulations. As previously stated, potassium permanganate contained in a super sack packaging was transported from the warehouse to a waiting truck, was damaged by a forklift. What is your process right after that? You have a chemical spill now. What is your process? So I'll tell you what you're stating it is here. But what is your true process? Are you legally able to clean it up yourself? How would you know? Because you have to make a call, correct? You have to get a hold of either Chemtrack, Emergency Response Training Solutions, EPCO, something like that, correct? To decide how you clean it up.
Yes.
So why is it saying, following normal protocols, the warehouse teams cleaned up the spill?
Huh.
Oh. Yeah, I see your question.
That's illegal.
Yeah, let me give you some feedback. So there's two kinds of regulations, and we're getting a little detailed here.
Again, you're not a hazmat trainer.
Yeah,
You know,
I get it. But you know, you're a HazMat trainer, so you know if you're DOT and you're on road, that you're going to call Chemtrack,
Right.
and you're going to call those experts. And if you're on site, you're not going to follow DOT rules. You're going to follow different rules, right?
Right.
And so you're going to clean that up.
No, you're not. You're going to call a system that tells you if you can clean it up or not. You can't just make the
Hazmat.
decision yourself. You're endangering everybody.
It costs money to call.
Supposed to
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's $4,500 to make the call. The team has to come. You're looking at another $5,500.
Oh, there
It's
you
about
go.
10 grand per call. Is that the reason you didn't follow the protocol? This is $10,000.
No, again, I think it gets mixed up maybe a little bit in terms of what the rules are on the road, which I would.
That's not the road.
I would agree.
I'm
with
talking
you.
about at a facility.
Yeah, at a facility.
Recordable limits.
Because I'm in charge of that too.
Okay.
I just want to know, what was your process? Did you do it right, or did you clean it up yourself? Which now you just endangered all your employees. You can't make the call on that without specifically knowing.
Yeah, our safety protocol says that we would clean that up, and we did.
No, it
You
don't.
have to make the call.
No, it doesn't. We were told different in a city meeting.
I've never heard of where you can just clean something up yourself.
Yeah,
You have to make the call.
It depends on what the chemical is. I agree with you.
That's a hazardous chemical. So it's not like you're dealing with something that's not.
Finger paint.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, I'm just telling you
know
what I
that.
think.
So what specific equipment did they use to clean it up?
You're gonna.
What was their PPE? These are things that matter to your workers. If you're putting them in danger, shame on you guys. Not to mention endangering everybody else. Because if you maybe called somebody, instead of having them clean that up, if that fire broke out, you be sure of that?
We're getting close to
Have
the,
specifics
Yeah.
to it, it may
Listen
have
to
never
this
happened,
guy.
correct?
Carus is getting beat up. We gotta shut it down.
Yeah, the day of the fire, you raised some really good points. The day of the fire, when we realized what had happened, we called we hired a third-party investigator because we really wanted to know what had happened. We kind of wanted to get the answers to some of your questions. And we didn't want to do it ourselves. We didn't want to investigate it. We hired an expert. It took some time. And they looked at all the data, all the details, and really what we found out was there was a whole series of really unusual events.
Did they have a training problem?
Obviously, in 100 years, nothing like this has happened. And when you think about it, I try to explain it. If you think about it, if you take some, and you probably heard this analogy, if you take some Swiss cheese and you can, there's a hole in it, so you poke a hole. If you put another piece of Swiss cheese there, and maybe you get two of them lined up, two holes, put a third one, or a fourth one, or a fifth one, and finally, you can't get a hole for it. You don't get the action. Something stops it, right? And the day of the fire, we had a whole lot of those line up. And if any one of them had not happened, we probably would have been okay. And so we got to look at each one of those to analyze it. And that's why that expert came in. And then we're going to follow up with their recommendations in terms of what kind of changes we need to make improvements in our facility, in our training, in our equipment. We've also hired an engineering firm to look at how we rebuild the warehouse, and how we rebuild our packaging, how we're going to do that safer, how we're going to do that in a better way that's going to protect you guys, protect this community, protect our neighbors, protect our employees, make sure that our customers are good. So all those things are going to factor in as we go forward.
The employee that caused this, was he properly trained, do you know? Should he have reached out to somebody immediately?
Yeah, so the investigation team looked at all those details, right? So you had all kinds of issues that lined up with that Swiss cheese that day.
Swiss cheese,
I
what
mean-
are you referring to?
Well, I'm trying
I
to
mean,
say,
like, what else?
I'm trying to say there was a whole lot of
Other
things,
holes,
a whole lot of things that happened that day that led to the accident.
Should maybe have been stopped if you knew a bunch of things were occurring, to maybe retrain and hold off, stop, and maybe talk with others, say, hey, we got some things occurring here, safety-wise, maybe we should address this before, something happens worse.
Yeah, that's why, it was an accident, yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight,
They
yeah.
didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it was an accident, for sure.
Well, you might want to look at your safety training.
we're getting close to our budgeted time. We had shot for about 7:30, but we can maybe stretch it for 5 or 10 minutes. Take one more, right?